First play of the game, we're going blind pig.
We're going to go blind pig.
Blind pig, yeah.
So I'm also a big fan of the blind pig action.
The only reason we're running this.
Hello and welcome to the Blind Pig podcast. We are back again with another amazing episode, this time with the GB Women's head coach, Krumesh Patel, coming off an amazing 3-0 March window. Great to have you on the show. How you doing, brother?
Great, thanks for having me. You know, it's a great window that just went, so hopefully we can just keep building that momentum into the futures. But it was an exciting window, and the staff and the players did an amazing job.
Dude, it was like picture perfect. Going 3-0 in your first games, including going 2-0 in like the home ones as well. That must have been an incredible feeling.
But the plan was always to try to be successful over the window. The aim was to make qualification. To get 3-0 was even better. And the girls, really brought into what we were trying to do. And, last year challenged us last time, so this was an opportunity for us to get one back on them. And they did. To go 3-0 is great. To be qualified is even better. So we're in a happy spot right now.
100%, 100%. And what we're going to do is we're going to run through kind of your whole career. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about like the GB Women's and stuff. But if it's cool with you, I want to go all the way back to like the start of your coaching journey, because there was a really fantastic article about kind of your experience with basketball and how you grew. And your basketball CV absolutely blew me away in terms of like all the different stuff you've done, all the different roles you've done. How did you first get into basketball?
So if we go all the way back, I got into playing at my school, Rushamid School in Leicester. The PE teacher was very big on sport. But if you wanted to join a team, he made you try out for all the sports. So everybody wanted to play football. But he was like, well, you have to also try basketball. You got to try rugby. You got to try cricket. You don't know what you're going to be good at. And forced us to play all the sports athletes. And that was great. So I made all the teams, but basketball was the one I started to excel at. So when I was in year 9, I think I made the East Midlands team. That gave me the first taste of the next level outside of the county stuff. Tried to make a run with the England team, didn't ever make it. But, I was in that room to be like, oh, these are really good players. I'm around. And then when I got to... So then I started playing Leicester Cannons, which was Mandy Pallard's team in Leicester. We made the Final Four in under-14s, which was a shock because it was always Sheffield, Manchester, all them kind of teams. We happened to beat Sheffield that time. So we made it to the Final Four. So that was the first taste of, this is what like elite basketball or junior level is. And then we continued the career 16s and 18s. We never saw the same highs, but we were always there or thereabouts. And then when we got to 16, we can go to college. So we ended up going to Beecham College, which was then taken over as one of the first basketball academies in Leicester. So me and 4 of my other friends who played for Leicester Cannons all decided to go to that college, plus 2 other people. So we made a good attempt at that. In our first year, we were, at the back in the day, it was Nationals, I think, and National Bs and National A's before there was EABL and all that. So we won National B. Mm-hmm. And then the second year we went up to National A, which was like EABL equivalent, and we were runners up to that, to Doncaster. So that was my whole taste of I had a good career as a junior, always competitive where we were. And then when I was 18, 19, I tried everything what everyone tried to do. I was going to go to America. There was some complications with the visa situation and stuff. We didn't get what I wanted. So I ended up going to university in Leeds. And then when I went to university in Leeds, made the first team, played there. And then in my second year, going into my third, they offered me a part scholarship to coach and play because we were University of Leeds, not Leeds Met. So I got the opportunity to do that. So I took over the program as head coach, as well as the program lead, and as well as playing. And we grew that program. It was only I think it was 2 men's team and 1 women's team. By the time we left, there was 3 men's teams and 2 women's teams or something like that. So we grew that program, or vice versa. It was 1-1 and 2-1, but it grew, which is exciting. And it was cool because Leeds also had Leeds Met at the time, which were in Division 1, which was run by Matt Newby. So we're in the same city trying to compete against him university-wise, and it was always fun. They beat us a lot, but we did catch them 1 or 2 times, which was great, especially the second team, not the first. And then when I finished university, I was toying the ideas what to do because I did a sports science degree. And I was going to become a teacher. But because I never applied for my PGC and so I've had a year of figuring out what to do, Russell Levingston and Leicester Riders offered me a job to be in the community. And when I was 18, 19, I did a bit of community stuff for him just to keep myself going. And funny enough, he offered me the job and I turned it down and said no. I was didn't want to work, didn't want to do that. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then towards the end of the summer, he's like, look, are you interested in doing it or not? And then I was like, look, I'll take it. Because who knows where that goes, and I can't apply for my PGC anyway. I did a year as a community coach. I went into like schools, primary schools, secondary schools, colleges. I worked with the police. We did some 3-on-3 all the way back then, like trying to get engaged people to play. And it was loads. It was enjoyable, but it was not something I wanted to do. I would say I was successful at it, but it wasn't what I wanted to be like. I always wanted to win.
Yeah.
Always wanted to be elite. So I was like, whereas this was more about participation, getting people involved and stuff. So I saw the benefit of it, but it just wasn't what I saw myself in. So I told him at the end of the season that I was going to leave to pursue teaching. So I got a job as a TA and put my application as a PGCE. In that summer, I got a phone call from Matt Pitkin, who was at Loughborough, and Dave Greenaway, who was at Nottingham. So Dave Greenaway was my junior coach from 16, 17, 18, and Matt was just at Loughborough. And they both offered me assistant role to the women's program. So bear in mind, I've been only doing men's. They both rang me saying, look, I know you want to do elite stuff. We can offer you this, but there's no money. And I was like, that's fine. I just wanted to taste the elite stuff. So I chose to work with Matt Pitkin because I already worked with Dave as a player. So I thought, let me try something different. So I worked as a TA from 8 till 4 at Rushmead, and then we'll travel from 6 till 10 at Loughborough. And the agreement with Matt was I would run the second team, which was Division 2 at the time. He would do Division 1, which was the equivalent to SLB women. And the idea was we had 4 juniors in the second team, and the idea was for me to develop them and push them into the first team, help him with the first team to be successful. And he said to me, I remember, because the year before I took over the second team, they had won 1 game. He was like, if you win 2 or 3, great, but the aim is to develop the young players. I'm like, okay. It was a successful year. We won Division 1 in the playoffs. The second team only lost 4 games, and then 4 girls bounced into the first team, which was a big success for us. So it was a great year, and I was like, this was amazing, it was good, but it was a volunteer role, right? So I was like, okay, that was fun, but there's no real role in it, so I'm just going to, I got that summer following the season, I got onto my PGC, and then the day I got accepted onto my PGC, which is, another easy thing to get onto, I got a phone call from Russell again saying, how about we create more of a women's role? I was like, what's that? And he goes, head of academy for Charnwood. I was like, okay, great. I goes, but Ross, there's only 6 girls. He goes, yeah, the idea is if you grow the program, you'll have a job. If you don't grow the program, there won't be a job. Which is, yeah.
Wow.
So I rang my PE teacher, it was John Peacock. And I said, at the time, I was like, look, he was my mentor kind of thing. I was like, what do I do? He's like, can you be a teacher anytime? I goes, yeah, you just got to do the PGC course. He goes, can you be a basketball coach anytime? I goes, there's not many jobs. He goes, go for it. And if it doesn't work out, you can pivot back. So then I took over Charnwood, and obviously, long story short, with Charnwood, we went from 6 girls to 12 girls to 18 to 24. We made the WABL final every year. I grew the Division 1. We played them girls in Division 1 as well. And in that span, we won 1 WABL, we won 1 Division Cup. We made to the under-18s Final Four multiple times. So that was, it was great. And we sent, I think, over 30, 40 girls to the US on scholarships. Like, it was a successful time over that 5-6 years I was in charge of Charnwood. And then a couple of years into that role, I felt that itch of like, I want to be even higher. But the time Matt was coaching, he wasn't leaving anywhere. So I contemplated leaving. And then one summer he left to go to Anglia Ruskin. So they offered me the WBBL job at the time. So it was, I think it was maybe 2nd or 3rd year of WBBL. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to do it. And we had a really good year. That WBBL year, we lost 1 game in the league. We made the trophy final, and we lost in the cup somewhere in the semi-final, I think. But we won the first trophy for Leicester Riders in the WBBL era, which was the trophy. We finished runners-up in the league and runners-up in the playoffs, which was successful. And I'm pretty sure I got told BBC Asia Network came to interviews. That was the first British Asian to win a trophy in a mainstream sport, which was pretty cool as well. And then my career continued. I took a job again, I thought I'd done a lot in England, so I thought I wanted to venture out a little bit. Took a job in Sweden, in Västerbuden, a team that had just been promoted 2 or 3 years into the top league. They had a lot of young players. Spent 2 years there developing the players and pushing the program. We won their first ever Scania Cup, which is under-19s cup for teams around Europe for the women's. And they won the USM, which is like the junior championship as well. And the senior team kept developing, but the idea for the senior team was to push the young ones in. So it was a different kind of role and different kind of expectation, but I think which taught me a lot. Like, I was at the other end of the spectrum. We were trying to fight for the playoffs rather than being at the top. So it helped me learn a lot let me learn about different cultures and also how to change your goalposts. Focus on something else, and we focused on developing players. After the 2 years there, Russell Eyes rang again. Since I'd been away, they didn't make the finals, whether that was for Bucks or for the play. So Russell rang me back saying if I was available to come back, and luckily time and place put together, I was available to come back. So when I came back, the plan was to be there longer term and push Leicester into Europe. Unfortunately, that didn't happen longer term because of finances. But that 1 year coming back, the original plan was to make one final and grow on it. That group was amazing. We ended up making 4 finals. We won Bucks for Loughborough since the first time I was assistant. So like, I don't know, X amount of years, which was cool. And we made all 3 finals. And all 3 finals we made was against London Lions. And I remember the first final with Birmingham. The players were just happy to be there. We got absolutely smoked. But it was a lesson. It was like, it's good to be here, but now we want to compete. The second time, that was my first time playing against Stella. That was in Glasgow, and we really pushed them. We pushed them to the third quarter, and then Kiki had a great game, and we ended up losing in the game in the end. It was close to margin. Then we had the last final in the O2. We pushed them again. I think we were one of the first teams, a few teams, to keep them below 60, but we couldn't score. They were a great team as well, so it was a good battle all the way through. After that season finished, I had agreed to leave Leicester because they weren't going into Europe. I wanted to keep pushing. And that's when the phone call from Vanya came about joining London Lions, the project there. Stella had spoken to me. I asked her why. The bigger aim was to make EuroLeague, take a team there. And I've never experienced that level. So I was like, I'd happily be an assistant, learning around how that situation works. And she was very complimentary of what I had been doing in Leicester as well. We went to London. Obviously, we won all the British things. And then we won Euro Cup, the first British team to win a European Championship, which was excellent. We did a really good job with the players. The staff was good. To make history is always cool. And then the following year, obviously London Lions fell apart, as everyone knows. I took what most people don't know. I took a job in Rwanda, a team called Reg, and they play in like the African Cup League, and it's very similar to like the EuroLeague before all the African countries. So it was only meant to be a 4-month thing. It was meant to be, it was good exposure, different level, different competition. But I only lasted there 3 days because I started to have a lot of panic attacks. I don't know what it was about moving that far or being there or the situation. I don't know what it was. It caused me, my body, I was fine mentally, but my body was just rejecting it. So I ended up coming back to England, and that's when Dom Allen rang me about Manchester. They had the new ownership. They wanted to, push the programs forward, men and women. And they were like adamant to sign me. And I agreed, because it was an opportunity again to take a team into Europe, build a program up, so on. The first 4 months I spent there working with Dom, putting infrastructure together, putting the roster together, making sure they have a professional level of system in place. And that was cool. And we were, third in the league. We were doing well. And then I got a phone call from Athinaikos. Stella had just taken over, and they had a similar project here about going back to EuroLeague. So I had to weigh out my options, and luckily Dom and Manchester were great, were releasing me to go explore this venture, because if I was in Manchester, it would take a few years to get there. Maybe I wouldn't have got there, but with Greece and working with Salah, there was an opportunity to be at that level again. So that was good. And then came to Athens, and then this year, like we said, in the Greek semi-final for the playoffs, we're in the Greek Final Four for the Cup, and we're in another Euro Cup final. So that would be my journey all the way through. And within all of that, I coached I was under 20s assistant for women's GB. I was under 18s head coach for 2 years for GB. I was under 20 men's head coach for 1 year with GB. I did under 23s 3-on-3 GB men's. I did senior women 3-on-3 in the women's series. First women's series we went into there. I remember assisting under 17 England. I've coached under 18 at Charlotte. I've coached Division 1 in Loughborough. I coached WBBL, SLB. I think I've ticked off everything that was available to coach in England, and the women's side especially. I think I've got a tick mark next to it. So from the community as well. So I've gone through it, and I think like having the opportunity to do the seniors, put the final piece of like, wow, now you've literally done things that are possible. It's crazy to believe. Like when I speak out loud, I'm like, it's a lot, and I'm only.
It's an
I think I'm
amazing
only
journey.
26. So
Amazing journey.
more to come, I hope.
100%, man. Like when you describe like all the different places you've been, it feels like every place you've been a program builder. You've been turning teams into like kind of winning squads. I'm really interested in kind of like that step you described around like that first unpaid role, because obviously in the UK, a lot of coaching roles are either unpaid or sort of very minimal pay. I suppose what was it that kind of made you want to take that leap? Was it kind of the playing experience where you wanted to be around that elite environment? Or did you always have in your mind, I need to do the unpaid stuff in order to get to a point where I like have the experience to be a paid full-time
Yeah, I'm a
coach?
believer of like, I think maybe the people have been around, but like, you've got to earn your right to where you are. And if you want to get there, if you're not going to do it for free, then how good am I going to be doing it when I'm getting paid for it, right? Like, if I'm going to work really hard and I'm getting nothing for it, when I got paid, I'm going to work even harder because I want to keep that money towards what I'm doing. And also, if there isn't an opportunity with money, am I just going to give up on it, or I'm going to put myself in that environment? Because actually, being around high level people or experience or situations, that alone is worth it, rather than the money. And I hope that if I did a good job and I prove my worth, an opportunity will occur. And that's been my motto all the way. I've gone all the way through my career. Is like, you got to build connections, you got to go for experiences, you got to give up your time, and hopefully, if you're good enough or you build the right relationships, opportunities will come. But if I just said, "Oh, if I don't get paid, I'm not going to do it," I would have got to anywhere I am. For me, it was always the case of like, I'll back myself, and if it doesn't, maybe I didn't get paid, but at least I gained a new friend, or I gained a new skill, or gained a new experience, or got to travel. And there are so many opportunities out there, but you got to think with a different lens of why you're doing it rather than just money.
100%, man, 100%. And like you say, those relationships sometimes are even more important than like the kind of the financial benefits. And very interested as well in like women's basketball and kind of the coaching skills. Do you think that the kind of the skills needed to coach women's basketball are the same sort of skills that you need as a men's coach? Or does it differ in terms of like the strategy of the game is slightly different, so how you coach it needs to
Yeah,
be
I get this
different?
question quite a lot because I've had the luxury of coaching the men and the women, and more the women obviously. But my style tends to be the same for both. The biggest thing I learn is as long as you listen and apply, it can be effective. Tactically, you have to change a few things here and there because the men can play a little bit above the rim. They can be a little bit more explosive, a little bit more aggressive up in the floor. But the women can do some of the aggressive stuff in the half court or up the floor as well, but they can't play above the rim. So you just manipulate the situation. But like any team, what you have in front of you is what you can teach. So if you have a team that you might have a men's team that can't play above the rim, so you got to be a little bit more tactical. You got a women's team that is super athletic, so you can be a little bit more aggressive. So you can change your tactical stuff how you want. It differs a little bit, of course, but my approach to how I deal with people is very similar. I try to build a relationship. I try to get an understanding. I get them to try get an understanding of why I want. And if there's a bit of a buy-in, then we've got a chance. If not, it makes it a little bit harder. It doesn't work all the time for everyone, but overall, I try to use the same approach whether I work with the men or the women, and then I differ the technical, tactical skill depending on who's in front of me, rather than a whole style that's different for both.
And you really feel, again, from the outside looking in, like you are very much communication led with your players. You're a player centric coach. And you also, I imagine your relationships with players like Hannah Robb and being in the under 20 GB women's coach, being there on the 3x3 circuit with them, those relationships with a lot of the people who are now in the GB women's team, you've really been coaching them at like multiple levels and they're part of the program that you've almost run
Yeah,
in a way.
100%. Like, I don't know, many people know, but like, I coached Holly since she was like 16. She was at Charnwood. I've seen her journey all the way through. I coached Savannah when she was under 20s as an assistant. Hannah Robb was there. Hannah Robb also played for me at Leicester as well. I was around C when she was at London Lions, or when she came to do the 3-on-3. Georgia Gale came to do the 3-on-3 as well. A variety of a lot of that roster I've seen in different aspects. Like Shanice and Shakila had touch points either at London or 3-on-3. Kirsty Brown was at Leicester with me. That was her first professional career. It was great for me with this roster because I'd coached some of somewhere at some point, whether that was at a junior level, national team level, or a club level, and it was just a cool experience to be able to do that. But like the key thing was like communicating to them, having that relationship that you're open and honest with them, but also they feel comfortable that they can express themselves as well. So you can get the best out of everyone. But yeah, no, definitely had that opportunity to coach a lot of them at different levels, which I think what worked nicely into this window with this national team.
100%, 100%. And I always think people sometimes they don't give the GB Women's program as much credit as it deserves. It's so successful. It's the most successful basketball program for GB. And think about kind of where you rank in the rankings, 22nd in the world. And obviously we've just finished the March window where you went 3-0 and you're through to the second round. I suppose, what are your ambitions in the FIBA cycle, I suppose, to go the whole way with this?
The women's team is super talented. You know, that roster that did well in March. We had many players missing that could add to it as well at different situations. I don't know. I think what we want to do is go step by step with what we're trying to do. So the next phase is, can we qualify for Eurobasket? If we can qualify for Eurobasket, then we'll talk about what's next. But the women's program has been successful. We've had a lot of talent over the last 10, 12 years, as everyone's seen it. And to just be leading this next generation into it, it's exciting. Trying to connect some of the ones that have been around it, some of the ones that are still around it, the newer ones coming through. Just trying to learn from what the last groups have done, you know, trying to bring that culture back in. But no, the women's team has been successful and they've got a lot to play for, and there's more talent coming through. So I just want to give them a platform where they can be successful, you know. So our only thing we can focus on is the next window. Can we get through it and can we qualify for Eurobasket? And then we'll decide after that what the next aim is. So I think going by stage has been effective. And that's what we want to continue doing.
I love that. Obviously, you have a really positive relationship with Stella, both as kind of like coaches that have faced each other and then working for her as kind of that in that assistant role with London Lions and now with Panathinaikos. There's also kind of the obvious point where Stella was in October appointed to lead the GB women's team and she chose to kind of step down from that. Were you aware that Stella was going to step down as the GB women's head coach?
I mean, after the November window, none of us thought we had any jobs, you know, with the BBF going. So it was a lot of unknown, a lot of messiness going on, and nobody knew what was the point of call. Like I said, they decided to make a decision, Stella and Jacob, and I respect it, because they couldn't get the answers they wanted. And not to be in the unknown and not have the answers is hard to continue something. So they took the decision to step away from that, which is, you know, I respect. Both were very supportive of asking me, or not asking, but saying you should stay if you can, because I know a lot of the girls. I've been around the situation a lot. So yeah, like they made their decision based on the information they had, and that's something I can, you know, you can only respect it because they made it on the information given to them. So we can just focus on the group that came into it. Our relationship is, you know, fine. We're trying to still be competitive here. But everything was done within conversation rather than anything else.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense, man. And obviously, I'm really interested in this position as well because obviously the liquidation of the BBF in large part was due to kind of the financial costs that occurred as they were fighting a lawsuit with Super League basketball, and so it felt very much like men's professional basketball and the BBF's relationship with men's professional basketball in Britain was having a knock-off or a knock-on impact with the women's game. I suppose, what is it like to kind of experience that where actually a totally different scenario is impacting the stability of like the program that you've been working around and for kind of so long?
I think it's just like, it's hard because we want everything to be successful, and in everyone's opinion, they're trying to do the right thing for the sport. You know, I don't think anyone is trying to do anything malicious towards the sport, but because you're trying to think you're doing the right thing, not everybody will agree to it. But at the end of the day, when that happens, someone's going to suffer, right? And we were just in part of all of that. So I bet there was a lot of lessons learned, what to do and what not to do, you know, and hopefully I can only be positive towards the sport moving towards in the right direction. And whoever the decision makers are doing what's best for it, and trust that's going to be the case. Is it going to be right all the time? No. I can only hope that it's more positive for the women's side and more good things come off it rather than negative. And nobody wants to see what happened in the past repeat itself. So if there's any ways to prevent that, then I'm all ears, you know.
What is it that you would like to see in like a future governance structure or setup that, you know, that you think actually is the best, I suppose, the best scenario for kind of like the GB teams? Have you been consulted in what do you think it should look like?
I know they're working behind the scenes to make everything come together. I'm not really sure. I'm not really involved in that part. One thing I mentioned a couple of times, I think it'd be good to have a player representation in that group. And so the players are also informed with what's going on. And that's something that's been echoed. Because like, I think the key thing is knowing what information and what's going on. You might not be a decision maker, but at least having the information is important. I think it's more important that players have it. So at least they have that confidence of like what's going on or the opportunity to challenge it. But again, what's happening in the background with the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure. But again, I can only stay positive the right things are going to be done, or at least they can include some of the player or a player representation into it.
I absolutely love that, man. And I think you're right. I think that element of kind of transparency, it only helps, doesn't it, people to understand what's going on, to understand how decisions are kind of got to, or how decisions are reached. One decision that I hope they have made, though, is I hope they've taken the interim tag off of you. Like, after going 3-0, you smashed it, bro. You definitely deserve that permanent role. Are you official, like, no longer interim anymore? Or is it still
right now? We said we'd finish the window and then we'd gather a debriefing situation afterwards. So I just made sure the players were happy, the staff were happy. We did what we were supposed to do. And like I said, it was the idea to do this one was to make sure we qualified through, and we did. After that, we got now time to discuss what the next future looks like, but at least the women's have something to look forward to, which is the Eurobasket qualification. And then after that, everything else is, the nitty-gritty bit that you got to deal with in between. But no, nothing's been said, but we're just working towards the right situation. But everything seems positive, so got to stay positive.
Dude, I'm running that campaign for you. Well, that's 100%, bro. I'm there for it, man. The games themselves, really, really impressive. I think the whole squad, obviously, Holly played an absolutely amazing role in that kind of second game, nearly getting a triple-double. But I was most impressed with the girls in the third game against Norway, really facing some of that adversity in kind of the first half. I suppose, what's the thing over the whole 3 games that has been most impressive to you about this?
I think the most impressive thing has been the environment they created. Everyone seemed to just try to get along. The staff and the players, the players and the players and the staff and the staff. Like, it was a nice environment behind it. And I think they all had a purpose of wanting to qualify. So having that one goal in mind, having a relaxed environment but focus within it, I think that was the most enjoyable part. Like, everyone seemed to be happy. Okay, winning helps, definitely. But just being around it on day-to-day cases, it was nice interaction with different people, and everybody was committed to make sure that we qualified. And all the players that came in, they were determined that, GB qualifies to the next round. And that was nice to see.
And Georgia Gale as well. I think she's obviously been like one of the key additions that wasn't in that Eurobasket squad previously in 2026, 25. She's like a hooper, man. She's like absolutely amazing. It must be a real blessing, I suppose, to have both Holly and Georgia who are on the court, who can kind of run the offense, hit some deep shots, and really be able to, I suppose, give you a boost in kind of like that tough, we need a bucket.
Yeah, no, we were happy with the roster that came in. Holly was exceptional. Georgia played her part. Savannah, Christina Nigwe, everybody came in and did all. Hannah Robb, it was nice that everybody came in at different moments, had an impact in it. But for me, without that squad, we wouldn't be successful. Individuals did well in different moments. But overall, having that squad together, trying to push together, it was good. Like we talked about it, end of the day, you want GB to win. Individual stats or individual accolades. It's different for team sports like your club sports or your professional teams. At the end of the day, the GB situation is, did we qualify? Yeah, great. Let's move on, And we need different people to give different performances on different nights. Not everybody is expected to do the same each night because each team is different. And the national team, respectfully, is the top 12, 14 in the country, right? So you are competing against people, but it's what's best for the country and for the team to win. And it's not that you're a bad player if you don't play as much. It should be the best of the best in that situation. So you just got to keep pushing through. But no, I'm happy with the squad, and different people made an impact in different moments, and it was nice to see.
Definitely. And obviously one of the players who weren't in this particular squad, Temi Fagbenle, a huge part of kind of the GB squad, the whole sort of environment that's kind of been created there. Very interested, Temi seems to really level up or really raise the ceiling, I suppose, potentially for this squad. And in Stella's interview with Julia, she mentioned that it was costs and not being able to bring players over from the States that was potentially going to keep players like Temi out of the March window. Are you expecting Temi Fagbenle to rejoin the squad in future international
We're
windows?
hoping to see what Temi's situation is. She was just unavailable for this window, as she clarified. And we're hoping in the future she's available for the window, but that'll go case to case. So we'll have to wait close to the time. We'll keep communicating with her, and hopefully this is something that she wants to do. She's always been a big supporter of GB, but end of the day, it'll be her decision if she wants to join GB. We hope she does, but nothing again, it was a case of she was unavailable and we left it at that. But no, if Temi was available and she can make it in, that'd be the best thing. You know, she's a good player, has been a pioneer for GB women's basketball for a long time. So obviously that's something that we would consider. But it'd be in conversation with her to see where she is in her career, if it's something she can do, and we'd make it happen.
Love to hear that. Women's basketball as a whole, it feels like it's really like riding like this rocket ship. Like, and again, I'm just being like really honest. Like 5 years ago, I don't think I was watching as many like WNBA games. I definitely wasn't watching like the GB women's games as kind of like religiously. But it feels a little bit like the Caitlin Clark effect and all of the great players that we're seeing in like the NCAA and all of the stuff that's happening there is really elevating the women's game to like a new height. I suppose, have you felt that as you've been coaching at various levels? You know,
Yeah, I think women's basketball is growing year on year, and it's great to see. And it's the recognition the women deserve. You know, they're very, very good at what they're doing, and now they're pushing for more things. And I think they should continue to push for more things because they deserve it. There are some people pushing it more, so I think it's helping the others. But I think women in general in sport need to keep pushing. The football is doing really well as well. The basketball is now trying to join them as well, which is great. But women's sports in general is now starting to get the recognition it deserves. Keeps going, so it matches up with other things they're aiming to push for. But it's really cool to see, and I think that trajectory is only going to keep going higher.
Can I touch on as well? I know this is a slightly different angle, but you've been really open, and I think it's really amazing about how much of a pioneer you are in kind of British Asian basketball coaching. And like you say, I've seen like a few articles where, like you say, you mentioned earlier, you're the first one to win like a domestic title. You're one of the first coaches to win a European title. Do you feel kind of, I suppose, a pride that you're able to kind of really represent?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel pride. I feel more of a sense of like, I want more involved in it. I was saying like, I don't want to be, it's pretty cool that if you Google it and I'm the first one or whatever, but I don't like it that there's no others. I'm not a big fan of that. I want it to be like, I want to be able to see 8, 9, 10 different names. I want to be able to see other British Asians involved in different level of sports and basketball. For me, it's like I had a conversation earlier. It was like when you're in the household, in an Asian household, you always talk about what other people do so they can push for them jobs. So you end up taking the traditional jobs of like a doctor or a lawyer or in a bank or whatever. I want to be in that conversation with like, oh no, Krumesh was in sports, so I could do some sports. I want to have that conversation happen because I want people to know it is an avenue to go down in sport. Okay, I went down coaching, but you could be in media, you could be a physio, you could be an S&C. There's many, but I think like if I keep pushing to the levels I can get to, I hope that inspires others to know that it can be done for them as well. So I want it to be more of a common thing, but I found it when I found out I was the first British agent in basketball to do this and do that. I was just like, surely there's got to be, and I couldn't. And for me, it's great that I get to be that one, but I want to hopefully inspire others to now push for that as well. So the more recognition I can get, and the more out there I can get, hopefully that ignites a conversation somewhere else that inspires the newer generation, and also not just Asians as well. I want younger coaches to be like, it can be possible if you started the pathway in England as a community coach, you can make it somewhere. Just to be like, there is an option for British coaches to come through.
And I think you're 100% doing that, creating a path for kind of others to follow. If there is someone there, and I think this is going to be part of a series that we're doing on working in British basketball, and I love that there will be people listening to this thinking, gosh, I want to be a coach, I want to kind of get to that level. I suppose, what advice would you give to someone in terms of, what is the best way to develop your coaching skills and your coaching style?
For me, it's be around a variety of different coaches. Don't be around the same coach all the time. Don't be afraid to put yourself in different experiences just to learn. You might not gain anything from it, like I said, apart from a valuable, this is what they do here, this is what they do here, this is how they teach it, this is how they speak it, or vice versa. You might see things like, I wouldn't be doing that, I wouldn't be doing that. Start like looking and learning from different people, because then you start molding into what kind of coach you want to be. And there are different types of coaches, and none of them are wrong, all different for different reasons. So it's like, what kind of coach do you want to be? But you can only know that if you experience different ones. Put yourself in a high environment, and actually you might realize I prefer coaching the juniors to development. That's great. That's also good. Or vice versa, I would say how many environments or how many different sessions or camps or games, what have you been to now mold where you want to be? But starts from, did you do your level 1, level 2 coaching courses? Did you then, once you get that, did you just settle with what you thought you knew from the course, or Did you challenge yourself to go learn from other people or ask questions? I tell people when I started growing in coaching, I asked so many questions to so many people to figure out how do you teach this, how do you teach that, why did you do that, why did you do this. People need to understand because you ask questions doesn't mean you don't know anything. It means you're intrigued to learn. So keep asking questions because that's the only way you can get forward. Like you already know what you know, and you're always learning every day. So ask questions, and the right people will answer them questions. So then you know build up your knowledge.
Absolutely love it, man. That's brilliant. I have to ask a personal question, right, around the coaching. So one of the things I see you do on the sidelines all the time after a basket is this go and press or is this a secret play? Because this seems to do like multiple actions.
Honestly, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what my hands are doing all the time. I like to be animated to join the team to support him, and I think that my hands are the easiest one to do. My feet will not move as quick, so my hands might be the ones that are doing it.
Dude, I absolutely love this. This has been amazing, just sort of chatting to you, getting that insight all about Jimmy's Weavy team. That's amazing, man. I suppose for people, if they want to follow you, follow the journey, kind of what's the best way for them to kind of
I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and pretty sure if you type in Krumesh, it comes up in all of them. There isn't many other Krumeshes around. Like that's one of my party tricks. You type in Krumesh in Google, I think I'm the first one. So there's any other platforms, and if the people want to reach out for any support advice, they're more than welcome to. I'm more than open to have more conversations. As long as it's for the betterment of basketball and development, I'm all up for it.
Krumesh, absolutely love that, man. And honestly, you've been amazing to kind of talk to and get that insight. And what we'll do for the YouTube watchers, we'll drop all of the links down below so you can go and follow him and definitely do kind of take him up on it. I think real wealth of information. Like I said, that CV of going through all those different roles, I think he's going to be able to help guide you wherever you are on kind of your coaching journey or even if you're just interested. So definitely make sure you follow him. But until next time, catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.